Here we go. Do you have like an action thing? Do you have like a
action? Hey y'all, welcome back to not my farm, obviously. I'm in a hotel room with, I would introduce you, but I feel like everybody already knows who you are because pretty much everybody followed me over here from you. But this is Jill Reagan from Whispering Willow Farm. We are in a hotel room in an undisclosed location because I had the opportunity to kind of tag along with Jill for a fun project that she's going to be revealing very soon. And I thought it would be the perfect opportunity to do like a question and answer interview style vlog because I've never done one of those, and what a perfect person to do that with. So Jill, everybody probably already knows you, but go ahead and tell us who you are and what you do.
Yes. Well, thanks for having me on your channel and this hotel room.
You're welcome.
Yeah, so I am Jill Reagan. I own and operate Whispering Willow Farm out of Central Arkansas. Lauren and I are about 30 minutes from each other. I started out farming and sold to restaurants, farm stores, wholesale, things like that. And then I kind of transitioned into content. I really wanted to teach people how to grow food. I really found a lot of value in that. And honestly, for my business and my goals, it was a shift we had to do from a profitability standpoint.
Yeah.
And so now I get to spend my time creating content for all of you guys, which I love. There are a lot of fun projects we do. We have an online website where we have a lot of different merch. We do a lot of cut flowers, vegetable production. We are still growing and selling. We actually co-farm with another family in our community. So we are still doing that, just not on the scale that we were. And we've kind of ramped up our content production, just trying to get the word out and encourage people to grow food, and that you don't have to be a farmer to learn how to grow food or to even have value in growing food. And so that's something that we've been shifting in and just spending a lot of time getting as much content out there as we can.
I think that's one of the cool things about gardening and farming is that you can shift.
Yes.
And like,
and there should be the freedom to do so. You don't have to be married to a thing. And especially for me as an entrepreneur, like, I'm growing my business, I'm figuring out what my business looks like, and that's gonna change, right? I'm gonna have to throw 10 nets out and see what I catch. And whichever one catches the most fish, that's the thing I'm gonna gravitate to. And I think that I used to think I couldn't do that. And I've realized now there's a lot of freedom in that I own my business and I get to play around and figure out what's gonna work best and suit my needs. And that may change season from season, year to year. You know, that may change on a lot of different things, but I'm in a place where I get to make that decision, which I personally really like.
Yeah, that's cool. So I think you mentioned flowers. Did you mention flowers? So tell me about that, because when I first met you, you were all about the vegetables.
All about the vegetables.
You were growing just a ton of them.
Yeah, I was growing 60, 70 different varieties of heirloom tomatoes that we were selling to local restaurants in our area. Like, really, tomato was our biggest production crop and the thing that we sold. And then it was 2 years ago, I decided, I think I really want to grow flowers. And I'd always had a couple zinnias here or a couple zinnias there, right? But that was probably like zinnias and sunflowers.
It's the gateway flower.
It's the gateway flower. And I was so naive to that world. So I've been growing vegetables for around 9 years now. I went to school for this. I've done this as my career for the last several years. And so I definitely don't know all the things there is to know, but I felt like I had a good understanding of vegetable production and like what to do. But then there was this whole flower situation that I didn't know anything about, and I was super intrigued. And we have another local farmer in our area who is an urban flower farmer, and she's just like knocking things out of the park.
Oh my gosh.
She's also coming to us like, hey, do you know anyone who's selling flowers right now? I can't get my hands on enough of them. And it was like, hey, would you want to do this? And so I was like, you know what? I'm going to grow all of these zinnias. I'm going to grow all these different varieties, and we're going to trial them. We're going to see what works, what I like, what I can sell. And so at our old farm, I grew...
Oh my gosh.
They
were so beautiful.
I grew so many zinnias, and I learned everything I felt like I needed to know, or that I, to figure out, really. It was kind of a trial period. And so I learned and I grew a lot in that season. And I ended up not selling near as many as I thought I was going to, because I was just kind of experimenting and learning, and I just didn't even take it to market. And so this year we have quadrupled our growing production. Like, over half of what we're growing is flowered. A lot of overwintered flowers. We have a market for it. And so it has definitely been a shift, but I'm learning and I'm growing, which is something I love. I love being in a place where I'm constantly learning something new. And I feel like that is the season that I'm in, is like honing in on a new craft that I always thought was this really cool thing, but I never kind of jumped into. And so now I'm kind of all head first, right? Now I'm totally jumped over. And it's been really, really cool. And it's been pretty profitable for us. And
yeah, that's what I've said this multiple times on our trip, just in different conversations. But, my goal is to really grow food and just kind of on a whim. Same thing with me. Like I grow zinnias because they're easy and they're beautiful and they make you happy when you see them, and on a whim, when we would go to farmers markets, I would literally the night before just make small bouquets of zinnias and basil, and that was it. And every time that was the first thing that sold out. Every time people loved them. And I was like, well, heck, I mean, I feel like I'm always going to grow food because that's where my passion is, and I really love that. But you'd be dumb not to try to profit on that more. And
I think it caters to a lot of people who maybe raised beds seem overwhelming, in-ground gardening, even just vegetable production seems really overwhelming. A lot of people can kind of wrap their head around growing a flower, even in a container, for a bouquet for their counter, right? There's nothing other than cutting it, putting in a glass of water, and sticking it on the counter. And so I think that appeals to a lot of people, which is why it is such a high demand. You have a lot of people who are in college, or maybe they're newlyweds, or maybe they're not in that season of like food sustainability and they just don't have those desires, or even just buying their food local maybe isn't something they think about, but they'll go down to the local farm to buy flowers. I mean, I know you would think that, oh, if they're thinking about that, surely they're thinking about food, but they're really just not. I mean, not out of ignorance, just out of, they just don't ever think about it, you know? And so it has been fun. It's been overwhelming at times, but overall, I'm going to say it's been pretty fun.
It's going to look so good. I got a chance to go to, I think I went to pick up a mug. I think that's what I was doing. And she walked me around all the different flowers they were overwintering. And I was like, man, this is going to look so good come spring. We have 3 48-foot long beds full of overwintered flowers. We're going to have 3 48-foot long beds full of dahlias this summer going into the fall. We've got carnations and snapdragons in our tunnel. So we've got a massive flower production going on right now. Okay, so tell me this. You keep saying we. We. So who is we? Who is we? Good question. Okay, so my husband helps as much as he can, but he does have a job outside of our farm, and that is not, he helps, right? But that's not his job. But we are co-farming with some friends, Sean and Melanie, over at Mindful Kitchen and Mindful Farmer, Arkansas. They live in the city and they farm in their backyard to some degree, but they are in a very urban, small setting. And so when I refer to we, it is me and my friend Sean at Mindful Farmer, Arkansas. We are growing all of this together. We're selling it all together. Our families have kind of partnered. It's like, it's the perfect relationship because like, you have the space. Right. And Sean's been growing flowers for a little while, so he has a lot, not that you don't have knowledge, but he has, in terms of flowers, he's got a lot of knowledge in flowers, so it's just like this perfect relationship. And before y'all started doing that, I had never actually heard of co-farming. I was like, what is that? But it's really cool. Like, it's 2 people who, or multiple people who have certain resources they can offer, but they're lacking in other areas. Like Sean needs the space. And I needed to learn more. And so you just partnered up, and it's like this beautiful thing now. Which is something that my husband and I had always envisioned, was farming in community. We knew that we were better together than we were on our own. And so we had always kind of just like thrown things out there. Hey, would you be interested in farming together? Hey, like we'd always had this vision of doing it in community. And so it was just kind of the perfect marrying of that. It benefits their family and their businesses. It also benefits me and my business. And like you said, it's like what he excels in, I need help in, and vice versa. And Sean's been farming professionally for the last several years, so he knows how to do it on a very high, large scale. He knows, direct to consumer. He knows wholesale. He knows a lot of back end things that I'm trying to tweak and figure out in my business too, that he's very helpful with. And I think that can be really encouraging to other people because the idea of gardening and farming, especially if you're trying to do it on a large scale, is overwhelming, first of all. And then you don't have all the resources there. And if you can find those people that can pick up where you lack, and you can give in a certain way, that's just like perfect. And I think too, it's not being intimidated to ask for help, right? Like, I knew Sean was a local farmer in our area. I had questions. I shot him a message, and like that was how our friendship began. It was just like, hey, I know you do this on a large scale. Do you have any advice? And I think a lot of times we get intimidated that people are going to think it's a competition, but you'd be surprised, like,
we're all trying to better our local economies. We're all trying to grow food to feed our communities. And so a lot of times people are more than willing to just tell you, I mean, you'd even said that too with a local flower farmer in our area. Like, she was giving Lauren all this advice because she genuinely wants to see Lauren grow.
We're in the same town. Like, I could be a potential competitor for her, but she's like giving me all the secrets.
Yeah, and I really value that. I think that that is how we should all be. I say it all the time, like, you shouldn't view it as a competition. Like, the goal is community, and it should always be, in my opinion, community.
Yeah, for sure. Last question.
Okay.
Where do you see yourself in 5 years, and where do you see yourself in 10 years?
Oh gosh, that is a loaded question. In 5 years, I see.
You don't have to reveal all the secrets.
Okay, I will. Lord, I don't even know all the secrets. In 5 years, I see myself still on my farm.
Okay.
I see myself with a couple more tunnels doing in-ground market-style production.
Of just flowers or vegetables as well?
We would do both.
Okay.
Because I feel like they marry and benefit each other so well. I couldn't imagine having one without the other. And we do also grow food for our own food security. So I'm not wanting to trade out all of our vegetable production with flowers, because then I'm having to source out food that I could be growing myself. So we'll always do both. I see myself with a dairy cow.
That's another thing we talked about a lot on the way up here.
So yeah, I mean, I see myself just really turning the farm that we have now into a great place to hand off to someone else in 10 years. You know, like doing everything to build it up where someone can walk in. I feel good about what I've done. I've built back this pasture. I've created good systems. I think that's really what we're wanting to focus on, is like put good, efficient systems in place where someone could come in and just hit the ground running, growing food, doing whatever that looks like, having animals, being sustainable. And so I'm excited for what the next 5 years hold in that regards. I think we'll still continue to do content. We'll still continue to do all these fun little launches that we've been doing. I think for 10 years, the goal would be to have more land. So the goal would be to have more land and really start building a farm from the ground up. I think we would love to do that in community with someone else. That's kind of hard though, right? And so it's like really just spending a lot of diligent time in prayer, asking that if that's what, you know, God has for us, that He opens up the right path, He sends the right people along, and we could co-farm in community and do that and really have a place that would benefit our large community in a really big way. I'd love to see like workshops, like on-house workshops, and continue to do courses. And I kind of see this big dream and this big goal that I know I can't do by myself, and it would take a lot of people partnering in the dream. And us all kind of benefiting from that. And so there's a lot of things I dream of for the next 10 years.
You're the same. You have all the ping ideas.
I have all the pings, and I have to jot them down, and I figure out, okay, what makes sense? What can I do?
What can you do today?
What can I do today? And that's the thing too, is like sometimes you have to source out other help to be able to reach that goal. And it looks like, you know, you're in the red for a while, but then you have to be in the red to be able to get in the green. And that's something we were talking about too, is like knowing when to hire someone, and when you're like, okay, I'm maxed out, I need help, and it's going to pay off in the long run because I'm freeing up my time in this area and that area. And so I think that would also have to be one of my goals, just really like honing in and figuring out how to run my business, like not my farm, but my business efficiently, and what that looks like.
And where do you need help? And
where we need help, and knowing what to say no to, you know, like that's a hard thing, is knowing what to say no to. And so I think that those are things that we are learning, and we'll continue to grow over the next 5-10 years and really just kind of blossom into where we want to end up being.
Cool. Okay, that's all I got.
All right.
Is there anything else you want to?
I don't think so. Thanks for having me on your channel in the hotel room.
Well, thank you for inviting me on this trip so I could interview you in our hotel room. Thanks for hanging out with us. I cannot wait until Jill can share all the big stuff that she's doing. We will see you next time.
Bye, guys.
Bye.